Good Friday morning, and thanks for joining us from the Ohio AgNet, the voice you know with the news you trust studio, sponsored by BASF, where you can count on the trusted performance of Allevo seed treatment to protect your soybean crop. I'm Dusty Sonnenberg. Under clear skies, I've got 36 degrees on the barn thermometer right now. Today's going to be a big day for traders, as after 2 months of the crop size speculation, the USDA is going to release its November WASDE report. That's the World Ag Supply and Demand Estimates report, along with the November crop production report. All that coming out at noon today. Joining me this morning is Brandon Curran. He is Senior Policy Director for the Ohio Soybean Association. Brandon, big news coming out of the Capitol today as we have a fix, if you will, for pesticide certification. Maybe before we talk about the action that happened, back up a little bit and help us understand how we got to where we're at right now.
Yeah, sure, Dusty. This has been a more than 6 month process for us. In the state budget bill, there was some language introduced, and it was an effort to make sure that we were in alignment. The state of Ohio was in alignment with new federal requirements for pesticide applications. At the federal level, there had been a requirement for new safety training for farm workers who are handling pesticides to be implemented. At the state level, we have to follow and make sure we're in compliance with those federal requirements. Unfortunately, when the language to do that got implemented, it took out some existing Ohio law that provides for flexibility on the farm, which allows family members and farm employees to handle and apply pesticides without having to obtain an applicator license, so long as they're under the supervision of one person on the farm who is a licensed pesticide applicator. We raised concern with it at the time, that the lack of clarity. As the budget process goes, sometimes it's pretty, fast-paced, and they're trying to do a lot of things all at once, especially towards the end of that process. And, when we finished the budget process, we didn't really get the language to a place where we were comfortable that it had addressed the issue. And so we had to go back to lawmakers this fall to look for a fix as they came back into session after their summer break.
So to clarify for folks, it doesn't mean farmers do not need a pesticide applicator's license. The private pesticide applicator license does still apply. But as you said, what it means is for those that are working under that individual that is licensed, they can continue to apply those products on those family farms.
That's right. So when we came back to the legislature this fall, we explained the situation. And really just asked them to go back to what Ohio law had been, before the budget bill language got inserted. And that is that one person on the farm does have to become a licensed applicator, but they have the authority to allow, again, family members affiliated with that farm or farm employees to do those processes under their supervision. And, that's a really important piece when you think about the significant cost and the significant administrative burden that if everybody who handled a pesticide, moved it out to the field, or were doing, a short-term application, just filling in, trying to help out. If you had to go through the process of paying the cost of the course and the examination and keeping that license up to date, that's a pretty significant burden for a family farm. And we just thought that this flexibility makes sense.
Absolutely. Well, great work on that, and hats off to the Ohio Soybean Association and all the leaders that spent so much time working with lawmakers to get this through, to explain what it actually means and bring a common sense approach back to it again. Once again, my guest today is Brandon Curran. He's the Senior Policy Director with the Ohio Soybean Association. Brandon, keep up the great work.
We'll keep working at it.
Well, let's check in now on your Friday morning weather forecast, brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance, online at seedconsultants.com.
A very nice finish to the week here across Ohio. I'm Chief Meteorologist Ryan Martin with a look at that Ohio Ag Weather Update. Sunshine dominating today, blue sky, warm temperatures, southwest flow, you name it, we've got it here today. I, for one, am thrilled. I wish we could keep this all winter long. I also know we cannot. We are going to put together this dry pattern through most of the weekend as well, tomorrow and Sunday, although I will tell you late tomorrow night into the early Sunday morning time frame, probably looking looking at a little bit more cloud cover. We've got a low moving through Ontario that throws cloud cover down into our area here. I'm not concerned about precipitation, but some clouds. The clouds break up Sunday, midday, and afternoon. We're a bit cooler there, but dry all the way through. Dry also to start next week, Monday, and into early Tuesday morning. And then we have to deal with a little bit of moisture as we start to see a pattern change happening here across our region. So Tuesday, we've got some hit and miss, a scattered shower action trying to work into western and southwestern parts of the state. I'll even say south central. It's only going to be about 30% coverage statewide, but I think we can see a tenth to half an inch there. That's going to be a precursor for later in the week. We're dry for most of Wednesday, then overnight Wednesday night through Thursday and Friday. Multiple waves of moisture coming through with a strong low lifting up to our west and northwest. I think we have to put in here anywhere from a quarter to 1.5 inches of rain. Coverage 90% of the Buckeye State. Everything is done by probably Friday late afternoon. That's the 21st. We're dry for Saturday the 22nd. Then Sunday the 23rd, another area of low pressure tracking by west and north of us, but throwing a cold front through. Anywhere from a quarter to 3/4 of an inch of precipitation. 90% coverage across the Buckeye State again. We start the week of the 24th. That's the week of Thanksgiving with dry weather and warm weather for Monday the 24th and Tuesday the 25th. Then we pick up moisture for Wednesday the 26th and through Thanksgiving Day. Combine those 2 days, I think we can see another quarter to 1 inch of rain. So definitely putting our pattern back closer to normal on precipitation. I'm Ryan Martin.
Thanks, Ryan. Well, let's check in now with Ty Higgins as he has an update on government funding for agriculture.
Well, the government is back open after the longest shutdown in American history. And that means a lot of things for a lot of people, whether that be if you're traveling in the air or if you need your job back through the federal government. But what does it mean for agriculture and American farmers? Brad Bales joins us. He's with Ohio Farm Bureau, their Senior Director of State and National Policy. Brad, good to see you.
Good to see you too, Ty.
A lot in agriculture, believe it or not, in this bill that reopened the government, particularly starting with the Farm Bill. What does it mean for that very important legislation to help our farmers across the country?
Well, real quick, it's very unfortunate that we had to go 40 days in order to resolve this shutdown. Not going to celebrate it, but on behalf of our membership, I'm just relieved it's over. There was a lot of difficulties when it came to accessing certain programmings or pulling down loans and working with your FSA office. But I will say USDA did a really good job trying to make sure that those posts remain as much as possible. So really, really relieved that this is behind us and in the rear view. Now, when it comes to the Farm Bill, right now we are currently on the 2018 Farm Bill. We've done 2 extensions, and then with the bill that was passed yesterday by the House, that will contain a 3rd extension for the 2018 Farm Bill, pushing forward provisions that were not contained within the HR 1, or otherwise known as the Big Beautiful Bill that was passed back in July. So, while we would like to see a modernized Farm Bill, it's good to see that we at least have an extension and we can continue to have the conversation.
And what was passed earlier this year was really just a percentage of the overall Farm Bill. There were still some things left on the table before the government shut down. Now that congressmen and women are back at it inside the Beltway, are we going to see more progress on those Farm Bill programs that didn't get appropriated at the beginning of the year?
Yeah, I know Chairman Thompson of the House Ag Committee is really trying to get back to work. He was already working the hallways, so to speak, to try to get to some sort of agreement. So we're hoping that now that we have some more runway to talk about the Farm Bill or a modernized new Farm Bill, we can talk about what we need to do in the long term to help out our farm economy.
You mentioned all the pain points that happened around rural Ohio and rural America with this 40-day shutdown. Of course, USDA, a big part of that, and some things that weren't able to be done from farmers working with USDA for loans and different programs that they might be involved in. How is USDA impacted by this bill to reopen the government?
So before the shutdown, there's 12 appropriations bills, or basically bills that fund our federal agencies. USDA was one of them, or the Agricultural Appropriations Bill. So out of those 12, there were 3, USDA being one of them that was in the continuing resolution that was passed yesterday. So what that means means is the agency or USDA will be funded through the end of the federal fiscal year, which ends on September 30th. Other agencies are not as fortunate. So for our farmers and ranchers, it's a good thing. We're going to be able to make sure that those offices are going to be open. Also, contained within the continuing resolution that was passed yesterday is making sure that FSA offices are prioritized and that they are protected from closures.
So just to be clear, most of this funding, not including agriculture, gets the government through to the end of January. If we see another shutdown, then USDA and FSA not impact.
That's correct.
What else is in this bill that your members have been asking you for and that you think is important for them to understand?
So right now, a lot of the conversations that we're having right now in Congress is about the farm economy. It's no secret. Input costs are record highs. They've been trending like that for the past 4 years. We also have commodity prices at 50-year, same level 50 they were 50 years ago. So that's making extremely tight margins, and it's going to make for a difficult harvest this year on a lot of fronts. So one of the things that was contained within this continuing resolution was they're going to take the Commodity Credit Corporation, which is traditionally used for economic assistance purposes, amongst others. They are going to put in $30 billion nationwide to plus that program back up. Before the shutdown, it was around $4 billion, which sounds like a lot, but in reality, that wasn't a ton when it came to if there was a significant disaster or something that would have came in. So this is something that we know will be there. We also know that USDA is looking at trying to do some sort of economic assistance. This gives them the discretionary funds that they need in order to be able to help us out in the short term. And then we can start to talk about long term what we have to do for the farm economy.
As Brad mentioned, really not to celebrate a 40-day shutdown and reopening of the government, but important to talk about all the things that will impact agriculture directly through this bill. Brad Bales, Senior Director of State and Federal Policy with Ohio Farm Bureau. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you, Ty.
Stay tuned. We'll be back to look at your markets after this.
Attention construction pros. Purple Wave Auction brings quality equipment to your fingertips. Join our bi-weekly online auctions featuring dozers, excavators, loaders, and more. We provide detailed listings, photos, and seller contact info. Inspect online or in person. With our no reserve policy, every item sells to the highest bidder. Visit purplewave.com today and see why informed builders choose Purple Wave. Transparent processes, real deals. Your next great purchase awaits. purplewave.com.
It's time now for today's market analysis, brought to you by the Louis Dreyfus Company. Excited to be building the newest state-of-the-art soybean crush facility in Upper Sandusky, Ohio. Call 574-566-2113 for information on soybean marketing to LDC.
Grain markets finished mixed to mostly higher on Thursday. Now the only thing that we have standing before us through the rest of this week is a USDA supply and demand report that will be out today. Yesterday, the market seemed to want to get a little bit antsy to the upside overall. November soybeans filled the 2024 weekly chart gap that came in at 1135. December corn broke above the 436 200-day moving average. That sparked some speculative buying. What will NASS put in today's report for corn and soybean yield? Most are thinking that the yields need to come down, but I ask you this. Why and how? Yes, USDA did keep taking surveys in, objective yield surveys during the shutdown. But if you have a skeleton crew, do they get much of that compiled at all? And if the trade has been expecting a cut in yields and we've priced it in, what happens if we end up with a minor cut or an as-expected cut on the report today? What does that do? Is anything new? No. You hear the term buy the rumor, sell the fact a lot. I have a little concern that it's going to be tough to find a bullish idea to come out of this report. We'll see. Yesterday we did see fresh speculative demand in the marketplace. Wheat market sagged on world oversupply. Right now, corn and soybean charts are bullish as a large speculator adds net long positions before the USDA report. Again, that report could change everything here just a little bit today. The talk in here on a corn number, yield number 180 to 181. Soybeans pricing in a yield that is just just above 52. Since there was not an October crop report due to government shutdown, the anxiety about yield is high, but it seems like everybody thinks it is smaller. Time will tell. A few hours from now. I'm Ryan Martin.
And thanks, Ryan. Well, let's get a check on your overnight markets brought to us by Seed Consultants. Simply better performance online at seedconsultants.com. December corn is trading down a half a penny at $4.41. November beans up 3/4 of a penny at $11.32 3/4, and wheat for December up a penny at $5.36 3/4. Thanks for joining us. This is the Ohio AgNet.